Today on the Tristen Law Show, you're going to meet an up-and-coming pro wrestler. Learn about his unpopular pro wrestling locker room opinion, what he'd do with $1 million, and more. His name is Corey Cooper, and that's today on the Tristen Law Show. Welcome to the Tristen Law Show, where I introduce you to the personalities in and out of the pro wrestling ring. The unique part is you don't have to be a pro wrestling fan to enjoy this podcast. If it's your first time here, new episodes drop Wednesdays, and welcome. I am Tristen Law, and I'm glad that you're here, and this is episode 26. I think I've got it right this time. If it is your first time here, check out the top 5 of 2020 bonus episode right after this. Find it where you found this episode. I usually get asked, how do I find the personalities that appear here on the Tristen Law Show? And it's usually 5 ways. Most times I already know them. Sometimes I know of them and I just shoot my shot. Or I see something about them on social media and I reach out to them. That's how I met today's guest, Corey Cooper. Representing Long Island, New York, we talk about how he got into the pro wrestling ring, what he would do if he wasn't wrestling, the best piece of advice that he's gotten, and more. The 4th way I get personalities for the Tristen Law Show are recommendations, and the 5th way is they reach out directly to me and ask. If you'd like to recommend someone or introduce yourself to the listeners of the Tristen Law Show, and you're a personality in and out of the pro wrestling ring, shoot the show an email at tristenlawshow@gmail.com or drop myself or the show a DM. Find me at The Real Big Tris on Instagram and Twitter, and find the show at Tristen Show on Instagram and Twitter. When I get back, I have Corey Cooper with me. I am Tristen Law, and this is the Tristen Law Show.
Hello to all of you Tristen Law Show podcast listeners. This is Frank Mandolini. You may not recognize this voice. I am the Italian podcaster who talks about the business side of wrestling. Yeah, I know, it's quite niche. But if you look for last minute wrestling podcast on all of your social media and wherever you get your podcast, you'll be amazed to find interviews with people such as Rob Van Dam or Matthew Gregg from Botchamania and many others, so you get to know many aspects of the wrestling business that normally you don't hear in wrestling podcasts. Because let's face it, who wants to hear another guy talk about Monday Night Raw? Yeah, me neither. So guys, go to lmwpodcast.com or search for LMW Podcast everywhere in the interweb. And remember guys, this is Frank Mandolini from the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, and you stay safe.
Welcome back to the Tristen Law Show, and I hope that you're having a great time. My next guest at this time is the pro amongst pros. Representing Manorville, New York on Long Island, I would like to welcome Corey Cooper to the Tristen Law Show. Corey, what's going on? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited to be on the show.
I'm excited to have you as well, too, man. I saw a video of you on Twitter posted up by NYWC out there in Dare Park, Long Island. And I was like, oh, this brother looks really cool to interview. I saw you only had a couple followers on Twitter. So you know what? Hey, let's see if we can get you some more followers on Twitter. How long you been wrestling?
Man. I started wrestling in June 2018, so almost 3 years now.
Okay, cool. So what was it like growing up for you on Long Island? You know, I've only been to Long Island in my life because I lived in New York City. And I've only been to Long Island about 3 times in my life. What was it like growing up on Long Island for you?
Pretty easy, pretty simple. I mean, my school on a farm, you know.
Your school was on a farm?
Yeah, right next to a farm. Grew up right next to a farm. I don't live on a farm, more of a suburban area where I live. But, you know, playing sports my whole life, watching wrestling my whole life.
Hey, let me tell you, I used to think it was weird to live next door to a farm until you get some prime food from a farm.
Always good to go pumpkin picking in the fall.
Agreed.
Big pumpkin patch area down here.
Agreed. And And because of those kind of environments as well, too, Corey, you also get the opportunity to get a lot of those Halloween things where you sit on a hayride. I think it's called a Halloween hayride, where you go through
corn mazes, the whole nine.
That's living in the country.
A lot of that. Yep.
So you're talking about you're growing up as a pro wrestling fan. You've been watching pro wrestling. When did you become a pro wrestling fan?
I would say I was about third grade, 8 years old. Watched pro wrestling, watched Monday Night Raw the first time. Actually, Friday Night SmackDown. First memory of pro wrestling was Booker T entering a cage at my uncle's house. Turned that on, flipping between shows. And then when I fell in love with pro wrestling was when I saw Jeff Hardy jump off the Titantron. Hooked from then on.
What was it about Booker T walking into a cage that made you say, hey, this needs my attention?
It was the cage, and it was all the people, and it was just all these people, you know, honed in, centered in on one thing. Them all watching this cage with Booker T. It just caught my eye.
So for me, one of the things that I like as well, kind of what you said, is that I like the attention. And that's why I love being a wrestler. I love the attention. I love that the music plays and I come out and I'm the only thing that matters aside from my opponent. Everybody's focused on the ring. And that's a pretty cool story how Booker T captured you. Jeff Hardy as well, too, was a fan. I was a fan of Jeff Hardy when I was a kid, too. I remember Jeff Hardy when he used to, when he was just an enhancement talent. And look at Jeff Hardy now. What was it about Jeff Hardy that you liked?
He was just different. He really had his own. He was beating to his own drum, had his own vibe to him. The rainbow hair, the cut up arm sleeves, everything about him just stood out. Even though he wasn't, the biggest guy with the biggest muscles, he still stood out from the pack. And I think that resonates a lot with the fans. It definitely resonated with me as a kid.
Watching one of the video that you did for NYWC, it's a really great video, and I recommend the people listening to the Tristen Law Show to go check that out. And I saw that you did a flip, like it was like out of the ropes, out of the ring onto a bunch of people. Was that something that you get inspiration from Jeff Hardy?
Definitely inspired by Jeff Hardy doing those type of stunts. I'm trying to think of the specific video you're talking about. I know I jumped off of a roof onto a bunch of people, and that was definitely inspired by Jeff Hardy. When you grow up a Jeff Hardy fan, you want to be doing those outlandish type of stunts, and when you get that opportunity, you just can't really say no to them because you still want to be like Jeff Hardy, even though, you have your own style and I have my own way of being a pro wrestler. You still kind of want that feeling of flying through the air like you saw your childhood hero do.
In my in-ring repertoire, the people that inspire me and that I try to embody little pieces of them are Randy Orton, Edge, and Triple H. So obviously Jeff Hardy's one of the people for you. Who else do you embody or that you take little pieces of their work to try to make it your own?
Randy Orton's a big one. I think everybody in the business can learn from Randy. He's probably the smartest worker we've had probably in the last, as long as I've been alive, watching him grow. Like I've grown up watching him, and he's probably the smartest worker. So definitely I take a lot from Randy. I try and take a lot from Shawn Michaels as well. So Shawn, Jeff Hardy, there's something about those stunts, the way he would just put his body on the line that really captivates the fans. And so you try and take all three of those and combine them, but then throw your own flavor into it,
So Corey, what was the moment then? Because you said that you watched Booker T walking in and you were enamored by Jeff Hardy. So what was the moment you said to yourself, Corey, you have to do this wrestling thing?
As a kid, when I wanted to be a pro wrestler, I went to the Garden to watch Royal Rumble 2008, saw Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, was captivated by that match. I saw the finish of that match today on Twitter, the Twist of Fate reversal into the RKO. Always pops me. One of the smoothest finishes to a match I've ever seen. And I think as I got older, when I thought to myself, maybe I could really turn this dream into a reality. I was watching the CM Punk documentary on the network, Best in the World, and just the way he was like, I grew up in the backyard. I couldn't do everything that the most athletic people were doing, but I just kept hustling, kept grinding, kept working the indies. And I was like, if I want a shot at making my dream a reality, I'm a hard worker. Why can't I do this? So I found NYWC and been grinding ever since,
So you talked about earlier that you used to play sports and stuff like that. So prior to pro wrestling, what was your athletic background?
I wrestled in junior high in my first 2 years of high school, played football since the 6th grade up until my senior year of high school. When I finished high school, I stopped playing football. And then I ran track junior and senior year of high school.
Okay, so you're just an all-around athlete.
Sports is just how we grew up here. Me and my friends, if it wasn't on the varsity, it was playing in the backyard. I played street ball, basketball. Never played varsity, but played that every day. Just what we did. Always active. Never indoors, always outside.
So do you feel that you being athletic, Corey, helped it become a little bit easier for you to transition into pro wrestling?
I think it definitely helped a lot. I would say that my wrestling, amateur wrestling background made the body movements just very natural when I started pro wrestling. Your footwork, the way you position your body in the ring came very easy.
One of the things that I realize with newer wrestlers, younger wrestlers who are still green and they're brand new, it's like their first couple weeks in training, is that it's so hard for you to try for them to be reprogrammed. And the times when I'm in the ring with these newer guys, helping them out and we're all working together, I got to say, dude, it's a work. It's not a shoot. You got to loosen up a little bit. Did you have that problem when you were starting?
I would say that it's very easy to be tight. Very easy to be tight when you're first starting. And I think it just comes with being comfortable as you get going. The more times, repetitions will loosen you up and you get more comfortable doing what you're doing.
I think that's one of the things that makes pro wrestling an art, Corey. And I'm not sure if you agree or disagree, but you were talking about being light with somebody. And when we're being light with somebody, it looks like we're super aggressive, but we're not really doing anything to each other at all. I think that's part of the art.
Yeah, that is definitely a big part of the art. And that's something, my trainer Bull really drilled into me, was that, you want it to look like a shoot right up until just before that point of contact. And then it's shoot, and then work.
That's right.
What he said,
That's right.
Think, shoot, then work. And he really drilled that into my head, and he drilled that into everybody I wrestle with at NYWC,
How did you find the NYWC? And for those of us that don't understand, NYWC is the New York Wrestling Connection. That's the pro wrestling school out there in Deer Park, Long Island. So how did you find them?
I was doing my research, looking at all the schools on Long Island and close to Long Island, and it was really the closest one to my house. And when I saw that, their training school had head trainer Bull James, former NXT superstar, someone I knew from watching the early days of NXT. And I said, well, this seems like a blessing right here. The closest one to my house, and it has a top tier trainer. Seems like it's meant to be. So I just found their website. The easiest way to do it is just Google.
It's funny. Back in the day, there was a website, because I started training in 2007, and there was a website that you can go on, and it was pretty much like a wrestling encyclopedia. It was almost like Wikipedia, but somebody owned it and they updated it themselves. So you can go on there and find out wrestlers' real names. You could find out show histories, and there's a portion that you could find every wrestling school that was almost known to man. And I went on there, and that's how I found out my wrestling schools. And eventually I transitioned into going to Team 3D Academy, because I found it on the dirt sheets. But what other choices of school did you look at?
I looked at Creative Pro is the one in Hicksville. They trained MJF, Chris Statlander. Max Caster is on Dark. He was doing some Dynamite stuff. He's on Dark a lot. And so they were trained by there. Those are some of the ones I was looking at. But Hicksville is about, Deer Park is maybe an hour from my house. Hicksville is probably about an hour 45 to 2 hours.
Makes sense to go for the closest one.
Yeah. And like I said, I saw Bull James, and that really sold it for me, especially when I went there and I went to NYWC. I met Bull. I met the guys there, and it really felt like home there.
So somebody that's listening to this right now and saying, hey, I want to go to pro wrestling school, what are 3 things that you tell them that they should look for if they're looking for a pro wrestling school?
The trainer definitely matters. If you're gonna if you're gonna learn this craft, you want to learn from someone who really knows what they're talking about and really appreciates the business for what it is. That's definitely one, is the trainer. If it's a school that's also a promotion, you really want to know your promoter and you want to make sure he's a good guy. And luckily I found good guys. And 3, I think the facility itself is a telling thing. Is it kept up well? Is it clean? Do the students look like they take care of the facility? Is the ring nice?
Good point. I think those are 3 good points.
I think I'm a very clean guy. So I'm neat, very orderly. And so I think that's a very a telling thing about people, is whether they're messy.
So take us back to your first day of pro wrestling school, Corey. What was going through your mind?
Our first day is at least the way Bull ran his training sessions. I don't know if a lot of trainers do this, but you don't get in the ring your first day. You're on the side. You're learning how to just take a step if you were to be in the ring. You're learning maybe just how to walk into a lockup. And so I'm doing that on the side with one other person who's starting training with me, right? And meanwhile, this is going on. I'm with one of the veteran wrestlers. Bull's doing his thing in the ring. And so the veteran wrestler's walking me and this other kid through how to take a step in the ring, how to lock up. Meanwhile, Bull and the other wrestlers are in the ring taking bumps, loud as anything, because you really don't realize just how loud the ring is until you're standing right next to it. And so they're taking bumps, loud, they're hitting the ropes, it's loud, they're stomping, it's loud. And it's something that can be intimidating. I wasn't intimidating because I love this business. And when I get passionate about something, that fear turns into excitement, I think, which I think is telling of why, the whole jumping off the roof thing. But it can be intimidating. And so if I was giving advice to someone, don't be scared of that first day. The first day can be a little rough. It can be a little intimidating, but you gotta power through that.
You were talking about going to NYWC for the first day, and your first day, you didn't get in the ring, and you said you didn't know if a lot of other schools did that. I've never heard of any other school that's done that except for Team 3D Academy. When I went the first day, bro, I just wanted to get in the ring. But he was like, no, you don't get in the ring first. I mean, obviously, I didn't voice my opinion. In my head, I said that. But, we practiced locking up. We practiced taking 3 steps, turning around, taking 3 steps the other direction. If you're a wrestler, you know what the 3 steps are. We practiced locking up. We practiced chaining. And then the next day that we came to the class, Bubba made us get in the ring and out the ring. That's what we did. And the reason why he said that he makes us get in the ring and out the ring is because he said he shattered his ankle at Madison Square Garden because he jumped out of the ring the wrong way. And he wanted us to always make sure that we got in and out the ring the right way. And then we went inside and we learned to bump, and then we went from there. And I felt like it was a progression to where it started down at 0 and it worked its way up. Because I do see some wrestling schools, they want to start at 100 and they want to bring it down to 50 to bring you back up to 100. Like, I think it should be a cumulative when you go to pro wrestling school.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the right way to do it, I think. And that's a very important way that you're right. You start 0 to 100. And I think it's also important to establish that getting in the ring is earned. You show up the first day and you get right in the ring. You didn't earn that ability to get in the ring. You show up a couple days and you make a commitment to this business, and then you could get in the ring.
And I think too, Corey, a lot of people don't understand that the wrestling ring is not a game. Like, yeah, we go in there and we have a great time, but there's people that's died in there. There's people that's broken their backs in there. There are people that have fed their families in there. So I agree that people should have to wait to go to 0 and then work your way up, because by the time you get there, you kind of have a little bit of respect for the ring.
Yeah, you appreciate it more. You do. It's something to be respected. It's something to be appreciated.
Is training something that you have in your future that one day towards the end of the line, are you going to open up a school or go back to NYWC and give back?
I would love to give back to the business. I think that's so important to the wrestling business, is that ability to, take people. I would hope to be as knowledgeable one day as Bull, and as knowledgeable one day as, someone who is opening up their own schools like Cody and like Dustin. And if I'm as knowledgeable as them one day, I would love to give back to this business and hope train the next crop of wrestlers. Definitely.
One of the things that I strongly believe in is that we as wrestlers should leave the business better than we found it. And one of the things that I tried to do with the Tristen Law Show podcast is obviously leave my mark by introducing people to people like you that they don't know. Like, there are people that listen to this in the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Italy, China, that I don't know. And this is us leaving the wrestling business better, because something tells me you're going to make it to that next level, and somebody's going to say, hey, they heard of you first.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're doing, trying to introduce this next crop of wrestlers. It is very important. You should always leave the business in a better place than where you found it. And that is such a big thing for me, and I'm glad it's such a big thing for you. And I really hope more and more people that are in this business take that very seriously.
So looking back at your training, what obstacles did you have to overcome to your initial pro wrestling training?
I think the obstacles I had to face was I work, I still work a job. And so this pro wrestling business, when you're on the independents, it doesn't pay the bills, man.
Sure
so
don't.
That's a huge obstacle, not only for when you start training, but throughout most wrestlers' lives. And so, working all day and then going to training and then just doing it again the next day. And so that's a big obstacle that not only I faced, but I think everybody at NYWC faced.
So now we're going to go to your first match. I want to know, who was it against? When was it? And do you think that you were ready?
So November 2018, I started training in June. So then that November, after that June, was 2018. And I wrestled Rex Lawless at the Quorum Firehouse. And we ended up going like 12 minutes, which for a first match is very long. But he was another person who helped train me. He was, kind of if Bull James wasn't there as the head trainer, he was the head trainer. That assistant coach, if you will.
Right.
And what I think I was ready, because looking back on that match, was it perfect? No. Is any match perfect? No. But there's definitely things to fix. But as far as the first match goes, I remember it was a hell of a ride. It was a lot of fun. And, but yeah, I think I was ready. June, July, August, September, October, all leading up and really getting a foot in this business, and then leading into that match. Yeah, I was definitely ready for it. It was a good match.
So for anybody that knows me, Corey, they know that I love Back to the Future. I love time travel movies. So let's go back to your first match. Right before you walk out the curtain, what advice would you have given yourself?
Given myself would be, I would tell myself to change my tights.
What color were they? Were they red and black?
They were black with red on the bottom, and they kind of looked like Disco Inferno's tights because they were not very tight to my ankles. And that would be the biggest advice, because I think I wore those tights maybe twice before I got new tights.
You see, when I first started and they said, hey, you're getting ready to get a match, your first match, you should get some gear. So I thought about all the colors that looked great together. I was like, yeah, red and black looks great together. So I got red and black, and I was feeling myself, and I'm in a locker room, and I'm looking around. I'm like, everybody has red and black.
Yep.
This didn't work out the way I thought it was going to be.
A lot of red and black is huge, and that's why I chose the green, because it really pops, and it really stands out, because not a lot of other people wear green.
what I tell people, the younger wrestlers, is, in my opinion, you should always get some kind of gear that makes your body more appealing. So if you have great legs, get something that shows off your legs. You got a great upper body, show off your upper body. And if you're light skinned, like for me, I'm dark skinned, I like to get lighter colors. And I recommend as somebody that's light skinned that you should get maybe a darker color. Like I would get a light blue versus somebody that would get a dark blue, because for me, I think it pops. Like for me, I don't wear black boots at all because obviously I'm chocolate colored. So I wear white boots because I feel that it pops. While everyone is working behind me to make the Tristen Law Show better, I wanted to take a quick time out to ask you to subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, rate the Tristen Law Show 5 stars and leave a review. Now, let's get back to the show.
I was just looking into getting new boots. I was thinking the black, and I was gonna put my logo on the boots. Maybe something like how Cody has, just standard, solid, and then with the logo around that top of the side there.
Those would be cool.
Because I know a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers are falling in love with the wrestling shoe with the kick pad, and I've been doing it because obviously when you start training, you get the wrestling shoes, and that's just how you develop. And I developed with the wrestling shoe kick pad combination, and I don't think I've fallen in love with it the way a lot of other people have, So I'm thinking I might make the switch to the more classic wrestling boots.
And that's for me as well, too, because I am not a body guy by any means necessary. I used to be a body guy like years ago, but, I love food, and that's just my thing. But for me, I'm into that classic look as well, too. When you watch wrestling from the 1970s, you were a wrestler. You wore trunks and boots. And for me, I recommend people to wear boots. Obviously, do what makes you feel best, but I always tell people that I try to be different. There's not a lot of guys out there walking around like me, because they're so afraid to show their body. No, I paid for this body when I went to White Castle. Okay, I paid for this, so I'm not ashamed of it. Yeah, I work out, but you know what? I like to eat as well too.
Yeah. I get a lot of hate for being a White Castle fan. I am glad I have met another White Castle fan.
Have you ever met Ariella Nix?
No, I have not.
So Ariella Nix, she's from the Bronx, and she wrestles around the area as well too. She was on this Tristen Law Show as well, too. She does not like White Castle. She likes Hardee's. Like, she loves Hardee's. And
I've never been.
You're not missing anything. The breakfast is all right, but you're not missing anything. But White Castle, golly, if anybody knows anything, White Castle is great. You can get breakfast all day. Those little burgers, my mouth is watering.
Oh.
With the little onions on them. Oh, man. If you've never had White Castle, people, go get White Castle. Just do it right now.
Yeah. Definitely. If you're listening while you're driving, I would get off the highway and find yourself a White Castle.
You see, for me, my nearest White Castle is 45 minutes away by the Palisades Mall, and I put in that work to go down there. Every now and then, you know what? It's a real cheat meal for me because I have to make an effort. I got to pay toll to go down. So if I'm going to pay toll, I'm going to go down there and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So I was talking about how I love White Castle and Ariella Nix. She does not like White Castle. She loves Hardee's. So tell us something that's true for you that almost nobody agrees with you on.
Oh, I'll tell you one of my tweets that I got a lot of hate for in the locker room. It's nothing, crazy. Didn't, get me in trouble, but got me some heat in the locker room. I think Ice Baby is better than Under Pressure.
I
genuinely believe that.
I'm going to let you keep that one.
And it was not an opinion that was shared by anybody. It got me a whole lot of heat. And it's my opinion. And I like Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. And I listened to Under Pressure. I listened to it again a third time. And I said, you know what? It ain't all that, Chief. It ain't.
So it's safe to say that a lot of the men and women in the NYWC locker room are not fans of Vanilla Ice.
No, not Vanilla Ice is not over there.
Putting pro wrestling aside, Corey, what profession other than pro wrestling would you want to attempt?
I am currently in school for HVAC, So that's probably my profession other than pro wrestling. But if I was going to attempt one, little personal story, I actually used to want to be a pilot. That would be one profession that I definitely would want to attempt. Went to BOCES and everything, but I do not have the eyesight.
Have you ever played Microsoft Flight Simulator?
No, I have not.
Bro,
sounds interesting.
I love that game. So when I used to live in Florida, I would play Microsoft Flight Simulator X, and you choose a plane, you choose an airport anywhere in the world, and you would take off and you would fly. So I'm like, today I'm going to fly from Orlando, and I would fly to like Chicago. So you put your flight path and you adjust it, and you would just fly. And once you get up in the air, you just go cruise control. And the real time it would take you to drive from the real time it would take for you to fly from Florida to Chicago is the time it would take. And right now they came out with a new version, Microsoft Flight Simulator, that I'm waiting to come out for the Xbox Series X because it's already out for Steam and PC. That game, I'm in love with that game. I could just sit here and say, you know what? I'm going to go fly and check out the pyramids today. So if you really like aviation, I think that's a great game for you to check out.
Definitely highly recommended from you, and that is a recommendation I will take because that sounds very fun to me.
Oh, man. Like for me,
flying.
I play simulation games, and a lot of my friends, they don't understand. They go, why? So there's another game that I play. It's called Train Sim World, and all I do is just drive the train. So I get on the Long Island Railroad, and I leave Penn Station, and I drive to wherever the stops are and pick people up. They go, what's the point? There is no point. The point's to drive the train and pick people up. And it's the same exact thing with the plane game. You just fly, and then you land.
I like that, though, because the only game I play is NBA 2K, and it's so stressful because, like, you want to win. And I think I could use a video game where there's not a scoreboard and there's not something where you have to win, something that'll just – because I used to play video games to relax, and now I can't play them to relax because I can't relax when I play 2K.
So do you consider yourself a big video game person?
Not – I like playing video games, but I can't say I'm a huge video game person anymore.
Right.
Because people have Twitch and they have, their YouTube channels and they play hours and hours and hours. And I just can't take it that seriously, maybe an hour or two every other day, just like I said, to relax. But I agree. You'll hop on and you try and play an online game, and he's got his Twitch in his username, and he's a 99 overall with all the Hall of Fame badges.
Right.
He's pulling up from half court, and I'm like, all right, I just got the game.
And that's why I stopped playing Call of Duty online, and that's why I stopped liking video games that much. Don't get it wrong, I still play, but I just don't put in a lot of time like you said. Like I'll play a game one-on-one by myself. If I don't, as long as I don't have to play, like I'm just starting to play Battlefield. As long as I don't have to play with somebody else online, I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine playing the computer now. When I was a kid, I definitely used to like playing online. I used to really like interacting with different people all around the world, and you could talk and you could talk a little smack and have fun with it in Call of Duty. And as time went on, I think it was really when I graduated high school and that first year of college, when Fortnite came out and Ninja came out, and I'm trying to think of it, Cash Nasty on YouTube for 2K came out, or what's the guy? I think his name's like Flight, and the Irish Spring Green, that guy. And it's a whole different element now. It's a professional sport at this point. Esports are really it's so huge, and it just kind of, and I'm 22 years old, and it just kind of passed me by, man.
Let me tell you, there's people out there that if I knew, because I wasn't athletic as a kid, I could run, but I couldn't catch the football. I tried playing baseball, I got hit in the face with the ball a lot. I couldn't dribble. People said, oh, you're black, you're supposed to be able to play basketball. Stop being racist. I can't play basketball. So, if I knew that I could be an esports person, I probably would have tried that. But boy, let me tell you, I love wrestling. I love that. People ask me, how were you able to do wrestling and you were not athletic? Because I was able to learn. I was able to be taught how to wrestle.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why some of my friends who are wrestling fans were just, I could never try. I'm just not that athletic. And it's something that I tell them, like, It came natural to me because I am kind of an athlete and I'm pretty athletic, but there's some guys in that locker room that just aren't naturally gifted athletes, but they're still some of the best wrestlers we have because they've taken the time to really learn the craft, because it's an art and it's a craft. And what we do is it's really just more than just a sport. It's more than just an athletic contest.
Who are your mentors in the pro wrestling business?
Mentors, Bull James, huge mentor for me. Trained me, taught me a whole lot about this business in a short amount of time. Just sitting there talking to him. Rex was a huge mentor, talking to him. Another wrestler who's a veteran in our locker room, Michael Mastretta, taught me a lot about this business. And I think Tony Nese, we had a seminar with him. He came down. Jerry Lynn, another seminar I went to. He was actually a special guest referee for one of the matches I had. Another kid who I wrestle all the time, Jaden, me and him really go back and forth trying to put together the best match. And I think if you're a young wrestler, you really want to find that white to your black, that yin to your yang, someone that can really elevate you and push you to be the best version of you. And I found that with Jaden, and when we get in there, there's good chemistry and it really turns into magic.
What's the best advice that Bull James has given you?
I think that thing I said earlier, think, shoot, and then work. Because I think there's a lot of times in the match where you need to make it look real. And I think, I get it. A lot of the wrestlers just slow down. You don't need to go 1,000 miles a minute. A lot of matches I watch, just slow down, really sell, really make the people believe that whatever you're selling to them is real. You really want to make the people that are watching believe in what you're doing. So he emphasizes to me a lot, slow down, think, shoot, and then work.
I think that, in my personal opinion, that selling for some people is a lost art. To me, I think selling is everything, because I remember growing up in the Attitude Era as a teenager and watching all that wrestling, and that's what made me believe. It was the selling. That's what got me emotionally invested. For me, I never cared about moves. Moves are great, but invest me in the story, because that's what's going to make me come back for more.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's advice a lot of people on the indies can learn from, a lot of young wrestlers can learn from. And I think, there's a lot of guys that have jobs that can learn that. And I think even the best people at selling could still learn to sell more, because you could always sell more.
Of course.
And so it's so important to really invest, to have the people invest in your matches, because you're right. Moves are great and they can draw a nice pop, but the characters and the character motivation and the story you're telling from the first promo through the match to the promo after, that's what makes people come back and see you. So character is so important. Selling, so important.
And getting yourself over and getting the match over, getting the show over. That's all important too. I agree.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What are your ultimate goals for pro wrestling? Wow, I can't talk.
My ultimate goals for pro wrestling, I think I would like to make a living pro wrestling. And I think if I can make a living pro wrestling and I can make a living doing what I love most, that would be the ultimate goal. And then eventually, like we talked about before, giving back to this business and leaving the business in a better place than I found it. Those are probably my ultimate goals right there.
Well, I hope that you do make it. And when you do make it, I hope that you say, hey, you know what? I remember that guy, Tristen Law. Let me find him on Twitter. Maybe I can give him another interview. Not I'm just like this star walking into AEW or Japan or wherever. But my favorite question I like to ask is, if AEW, WWE, or another major pro wrestling promotion is listening right now, which I feel that they might be sometimes, why is Corey Cooper the best person to be given a contract with their organization?
Corey Cooper is the best person to give a contract because I bust my ass in everything that I do. And I will promote your product every chance I get. Promote, bust my ass to get better constantly. Every chance, every opportunity I get, I want to get better. And that is so important for anything, for life. Always put in 100%, always be proud of the work that you're doing. It's more than just wrestling. And so if any major companies are listening, if you're going to give a contract to somebody, give a contract to somebody who's going to bust their ass for you.
So one of the things that my mom always says is to speak things into existence. So we're going to speak it into existence. You're going to be a big star. And we're going to say that you've gotten the opportunity to make $1 million from pro wrestling. Corey, you've got $1 million in the bank. What are you going to do with the money?
Do with the money? I think I'm going to pay off my truck because that would be nice. And I think probably try and invest some of it, right?
I think that's a good idea.
Definitely invest some of it, give back. I'd probably say, I don't know specifically how I'd give back, but I think I'd try and take that money and do something good for my local, community, however I can do it. Something for NYWC I try and do. We've made $1 million in pro wrestling. Let's hope I'm a big enough star where I could draw NYWC some money and definitely try and give back that way. $1 million, man. It would be nice. Definitely pay off the truck, though. Because I like that truck. Keep that thing for a while.
So you wouldn't go out and buy another truck as well, too?
No. My truck's my truck, man.
You see, one of the best advice I got from Nunzio, when I moved to New York and I started training in Jersey, I used to drive Nunzio because one of the things I always subscribed to was the young boys drove the veterans. And it was good because the veteran got to relax and you get to pick the veteran's brain. Yeah,
and that happened with me in the Ascension when I wrestled them one time right before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Drove them around from the airport to Brooklyn, then from Brooklyn to Deer Park. And you definitely learn a lot. If you're a younger guy, offer to give those vets a ride, man, because you learn so much in those car rides. You really do. Tell your story about Nunzio, please. I'm actually very excited to hear it because Nunzio, I met him one time at a Full Faith show, and he seems like a really cool dude.
The first ride that I ever had with Nunzio, we were wrestling somewhere in South Jersey, and in order for me to get to South Jersey, I got to pass his house in Rockland County. And he goes, "Hey, kid, come get me." Yeah, no problem, sir. I'll come get you. So I went and I picked him up. And he said, "Hey, can you also pick up my friend Danny?" "Yeah, sir. Sure, no problem. Whatever you want me to do." So, we're in the car and we're driving somewhere in Jersey. And then we pull up to the house. And all of a sudden, he goes, "Yep, my friend Danny's right here." And I look over. I went, "Oh, shit, it's Danny fucking Doring." So Danny Doring gets in the car, the last ECW champion. And I'm like, whoa, this was the best time for me to pick a brain and ask as many questions as I wanted. And I understood what it was like to work in ECW. I understood what it was like to work in the WWE. And the best advice that I got from Nunzio that day was, kid, if you ever have the opportunity to make it, don't blow your money because it's not forever. Because he told me that he could have bought a house with John Cena down in Florida, with Rey Mysterio down wherever Rey Mysterio lives, but he decided to pay off his condo in Rockland County. So when he lost his job with WWE, he didn't have to worry about, how is he going to make a house payment, because he said he already paid his house off. So one of the things that I agree with what you said is if I ever fall into some money from podcasting or wrestling or some form of entertainment, is I'm not going to go out and buy a Maserati. It'd be nice to buy a Maserati, but I think I'm going to buy me an Acura.
Nice Acura.
A nice Acura.
Yeah, like you said, definitely don't blow your money, man. Definitely don't. That's very good advice.
So we're all going to have to check out of this, party that we call life. What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy? I think that's still something that I haven't written out yet. And that's something I think I'm going to have to find. And I hope I hope my legacy involves this business. And I hope more so. I remember I was watching the Untold Story of ECW with Paul Heyman and Joey Styles on the network. And Joey asked Paul a very, very similar question. And Paul said, ECW, that's a part of who I was. That was my legacy, but my kids are my legacy now. And I think that speaks volumes. And so I think Corey Cooper's legacy would definitely, I hope, involves this business. And I hope Corey Cooper's legacy leaves the business in a better place than it was. And I think that'll be great. But as far as Corey Peters, hope to be a family man one day.
Who is Corey Cooper?
Corey Cooper is the best damn athlete on the show. That's exactly who Corey Cooper is. Any show, anywhere, he is the best athlete.
So what's next for Corey Cooper?
What's next for Corey Cooper is I will be wrestling for NYWC. Hopefully I will be wrestling again for Outlaw Pro Wrestling. Hopefully I'll be wrestling again for the Monster Factory. And then from April, May, June, July, I will be training with Dustin Rhodes at the Rhodes Wrestling Academy in Texas. And so that will be a huge learning experience for me. I'm very excited for that. And I hope next time someone asks me who my mentors are, I get to say Dustin Rhodes, and that'll be awesome.
Well, one of the things that I want to do is eventually do a follow-up episode to a lot of these episodes. And I'd love to hear how you're doing in about a year from now.
I cannot wait to talk to you again, man. And very excited to pass on the knowledge I get from the Rhodes Wrestling Academy on to your listeners, my friend.
Well, it was such a pleasure to have you today here, Corey. Tell everybody how they can find you on social media.
I am Corey_Cooper_wrestling with no G on Instagram. That is my @ and I am @C Cooper Wrestling with no G again on Twitter. And you can follow me on both those social medias, and you can enjoy my Instagram posts of me with my shirt off, and you can enjoy my tweets about Ice Ice Baby, or you could hate my tweets about Ice Ice Baby. But either way, you should definitely follow both of those accounts.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a follow. Corey, thank you so much for the time. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, because when I get back, I'm going to give you my thoughts about this interview and tell you who will be here next week on The Tristen Law Show.
Thank you.
Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. That shirt you're wearing is so not cool. Why don't you head on over to TristenLawShow.com and get yourself a new shirt? Not only will you be cool, but you'll also be supporting the show. What are you waiting for? Go now and get a hat too while you're at it. Thank me later. We're the show at TristenLawShow.com. Welcome back to the Tristen Law Show, and I hope that you're having a great time. We're looking to promote your band or brand here on the Tristen Law Show. Contact the Tristen Law Show at TristenLawShow.com or TristenLawShow@gmail.com for more info. Well, look, let me tell you about Corey Cooper. I think I found someone who likes White Castle just as much as I do. Those little square beef burgers with the holes in them, with the onions on them and the ketchup and my mouth's watering. Let me relax. But Corey seems like a nice guy. He's got potential, and I can't wait to see where he goes. He's going to be on TV. And if he really wants to have an unpopular opinion in the locker room, he should ask who's the greatest rapper of all time and say Macho Man. If you don't know what I mean, Google Macho Man rap. Thank me later. Next week, I'm going to have someone with me on the show that I've known for quite a long time. He's the debonair millionaire and pro wrestling's richest prize, Darius Carter. And he'll be here with me on the Tristen Law Show next week. You don't want to miss what he says about MJF. You don't want to miss how he talks about how he got into pro wrestling and much more. If you like this episode, I need a favor from you. Yep, I'm talking to you. Share this on your favorite social media platform and don't forget to tag myself for the show. Don't make this be the thing that you do. Let's make this be the thing that we do. You can walk up to a random stranger and tell them to listen to the Tristen Law Show. Yeah, they may think you're crazy, but you don't really care what other people think, right? Fine. If you're worried about being judged, go on over to TristenLawShow.com and at least buy a shirt because people will think that you're really, really cool. Rate the Tristen Law Show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and leave a review, please. Reviews mean a lot. Whichever podcast platform you're using to listen, please subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. The best part is that it's free. Learn about myself and the Tristen Law Show by typing TristenLawShow.com in your internet-enabled device for more info. I'll be waiting for you next week. I'm Tristen Law. This is the Tristen Law Show. And until next time, adios.